Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Iron Panther Presents. This is a historic event as we have assembled most of the Iron Panther universe here, and we're here to discuss the Dave Chappelle special, which was quite impactful and current as he provided a very detailed and eloquent address of what it means to be a black man in America dealing with police brutality and racism. But today, we're going to go through each one of us and see what we thought about the special, beginning with Jay. What you got?
What it do? Dr. J here. How y'all doing? Also, hey, follow us on Twitter. Bam, because I run the Twitter. So if you hit us up on Twitter, you would be talking to me. And also, right now on Twitter, we're going back to the crew spotlights. This week's spotlights on Dave. Bam, plug done. Wow. When I first watched the video, the first thing I do whenever I watch any video is I scroll through and I read the comments, like right after watching it, right? So I'm watching the video of Dave Chappelle, and the comment at the time that was up top was, Dave Chappelle is not only the GOAT as a comedian, but he has so good that he is now known as a great orator. The reason why I remember that comment is because I couldn't have said it better myself. And I was watching it, and okay, so if another comedian came on and said, hey, here's my special, and within the first 10 minutes doesn't tell a joke, how many of us gonna go, click, right? That tells you how good he is at speaking and drawing you in, is that we all watched it. I can't think of another comedian that would start talking, have people come in as if it's a comedy special, and then just talk, and everybody be fine with it. I mean, that speaks volumes.
Chris, what you got?
Oh yeah, what it do? In the words of Jay, what it do? It's Chris, but I'm no doctor. But anyway, anyway, no, yeah, it was interesting how I found out about it. It was weird. I had trouble sleeping the other night, and it was past midnight, and I just happened to be on YouTube, and then I guess literally maybe 20 minutes after it dropped, it was like 12:20. All of a sudden, I see Netflix uploaded this thing. You know, Netflix is a joke. The title of it that had the Dave Chappelle 25-minute video called 846, and I saw that, I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to check. Like the moment, like for one, just the title of it. When I saw 846, because obviously if you see 846 is obviously the amount of time that the officer basically put his knee into George Floyd's neck before he basically killed him, essentially. So for me, when I saw that, because I, like you said, Dave Chappelle's one of my favorite comedians. When I saw that, I was like, oh, this is going to be a different video, and yeah, and I was not disappointed. So I love when he does it. Like, he does kind of, just more kind of talk to you, but also have some punchlines to it. Punchlines, which kind of makes you laugh, but it's also like, damn, like you right. Like when you put it, the way he puts it in context, you know what I mean? So, yeah, so that's my thoughts on that.
Stacey, how did you feel about said special?
I thought it was good. I thought that, he kind of connected the George Floyd issue with like kind of events in his life. Like he mentioned, he was born at 8:46 in the morning. And he kind of connected that and some the other cases that he brought up throughout the video. And I don't know if you remember, but 8:46 was also the time of the first plane hitting the World Trade Center. So it's a lot of symbolism in that number itself. And I thought it was interesting how at the end when he said, well, yeah, we're protesting, yada, yada. But after that is going to be, and he made like sounds like gunshots. So I was kind of like, okay, is he kind of getting a little bit more militant? Like, okay, we're tired of talking. We've been talking for a while now. What's next kind of thing. So it was kind of like his passion for, I guess, the stories and just the issues overall. And is he, I guess, because, a lot of comedians or a lot of entertainers kind of tap dance around certain issues, or they'll give a politically correct answer. But I feel like he was being a little bit more personal.
Okay.
So I thought it was interesting to watch.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Well, it popped into my YouTube feed. I don't even know why, what it's connected to, what I normally watch on YouTube, except it was trending. It popped up. And last night, sitting there trying to make decisions about life. So I was watching it as a distraction. I just hit it because I had to fast forward like the first couple minutes where they show people. I'm like, okay, whatever. What is this doing? So then I started really, he grabs you when he says at the beginning, because y'all trust me. You know, he sets you up with introducing what Don Lemon has to say, and then and P.S. I kind of got stuck with that because I didn't see that as what he said as a slam against him. He responded to Lemon's call for celebrity voice by saying my voice wasn't needed. I mean, I've been talking this whole time, and then so that grabbed me. And then he said, "But you guys trust me," and now he has something to say. And then I thought everything I heard after that was the most eloquent speech that I've heard in quite some time. It's a masterful storytelling and not a retelling of things. As a matter of fact, he chose to talk about events we don't all remember. He chose different ways to make his point because he was speaking to different people. He wasn't just speaking to his fans. When he did the story about the police officer who 400 police came to get, he wasn't talking to us about that. He was trying to tell them, um, here's an example of something you can understand. So I was captured throughout the entire thing. Like I didn't stop watching for the whole thing. I was there at attention, and I just enjoyed how he put the whole story together. It was quite masterful actually when it comes to his craft.
Thank you. Adrian, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I like Stacey, I was looking at the personal nature of it and like how he connected all these events throughout his life with him growing up with his great grandfather and with his father and with his kids, and also that he was doing the special where he lives in Ohio. And so he wasn't like, when he was talking about like we don't need to hear from celebrities, we're hearing from the people. Like I think he was also telling us not from his celebrity perspective, but from his perspective and the continuity of his life. And also like he didn't know all of these stories before either. Like he didn't know that who the first Black person was who was invited to the White House. Like he corrected himself from what he had said on SNL, and he's learned. I mean, it was so powerful because it was so honest. And there were so many times where I just had to stop everything I was doing and just sit down and then like rewatch parts of it, because it was personal, it was profound, it was like at 30,000 feet, but it was also right here, right where we are. And I don't know how anybody can see that and not be truly moved, because he even took it to the personal of like seeing how personal cops take it when a cop gets hurt or killed. And he's like, how can't you see that as riled up as you get, as passionate as you get when that happens, that's what happens to us. That's what happens to people of color when you put your knee on our neck. I mean, it was just it's one of the best things I think I've seen in a long time.
So the sentiment of that Stacey pointed out, and you were talking about the fact that he was like, what happens when talking stops and violence start? And the cases that he showed, even the cops. So I had to look it up. So Chris Donner was his name. When was it? He did it in 2013. In 2013, as Dave Chappelle pointed out, he filed several complaints about police brutality, being an LAPD cop that he felt he was being persecuted. He tried to go through the system. The system didn't work for him, so he started shooting cops. And then ultimately the cops finally understood, and they came after him. And as Dave Chappelle pointed out, they killed him. You know, like just forced the cops to go up there. But then he talked about military people, black. What's that?
I'm sorry. I said, yeah, you're not going to arrest anybody.
Right? That wasn't a conversation. That wasn't a conversation. But then he talked about military people, right? And as I was in, so he mentioned the guy in 2016, Army Reserve officer, so Mitchell Johnson. He killed several cops in Dallas because he felt black people were being persecuted in Black Lives Matter. Also in 2016, a Gavin Eugene, also military veteran in Louisiana, he killed several cops and then killed himself. And he wrote a letter that said, I'm killing the bad cops and the good cops, hoping that the good cops will police the bad cops. And that inspired another guy, Ronnie Cato Jr., also in Louisiana, to also try to go kill cops for the same reason.
Right.
And if it wasn't for Dave Chappelle like telling the story, I wouldn't have sat here for like an hour just trying to research these cases to say how's it all connected. And he ended with that message. He ended with that message to say when talking doesn't work, when the system doesn't work, at some point people say violence has to be the answer. Like, and why do they feel that way? And I compare that to the NFL. NFL saying taking a knee will get you suspended. We will not allow you to disrespect the flag. After riots and looting, all of a sudden they're like, you know what? You can take a knee. We thought about it, and
we'll join you. We'll join you and
we'll join you so you don't burn down our buildings. We'll join you. No, we get it.
You think it's fear?
Huh?
I don't think it's fear. I don't think they're afraid of anything. The NFL, I don't know what it is. I don't think they're afraid we're going to burn down the $1 billion stadium.
Yeah, I think it's because they saw there were so many people, even generals, that was okay with like understand that this was wrong, that they were like, well, damn, maybe we should be on the right side of history. After all these years, now all of a sudden they're all on board with taking a knee. So, meanwhile, there's a dude who is talented players now still without a job.
Yeah,
so, I mean, I was having a conversation earlier today with a black gentleman who's from the UK originally, and he asked me what I thought about the situation, and I said, when I watched documentaries of the civil rights movement in the 60s, what did they say? They said television is what was a key driver in America's response to seeing what happened to folks do a nonviolent demonstration for their rights and be met by violence they didn't even know people experienced. And so now we're in 2020 and people have been hearing about these incidences, but we hear about them after the fact. We see a snippet of a video most of the time. Sometimes we've seen the whole thing go down. And then we get upset. People do get upset. But this time, people had to watch for long enough to see that there were 3 different decision points that happened. At some point, almost 10 minutes goes by. That's long enough. You're no longer in the heat of anything, right? And everybody, all the excuses were gone. And the whole world, America, the world watched the level of depravity. And it touched them.
I think one of the things that made this Dave Chappelle thing so special to me, so I watched it and then I worked outside all day. And as I was working outside, I just played it over and over and over again. When we look at police brutality as a whole, a lot of us have personal experiences to lean on. And then when we hear things, we go back to those personal experiences and you feel like that moment when it happened again. And it just fires you up and it kind of makes you depressed and makes you angry. It does a whole slew of emotions, right? Like myself, I have personal negative experiences with policemen. And there's rumor in my hometown about the police, killing people and things like that. some of us are raised with the fear of the police and all that's going on. And as Dave is talking about it, it drudges up some of those other emotions, makes you think and go, man, this is going on for a long time. The same thing happened when this all hit. You saw yourself. I know I saw myself in George Floyd. That could have been me on numerous occasions. I've had negative run-ins with cops since I was a teenager. And I remember being scared to death and walking away, being thankful that I was alive. So when you saw George Floyd, that was a moment that made you see yourself. That's how I feel. And I feel like then Dave Chappelle had another profound moment that made you think about all the other times that it happened around you, that it wasn't you. And then when he started talking about, people being killed by cops and all these other things happening in the world or in the United States that all connect, it made me go back to my hometown and go, man, I remember that rumor when the cops killed that boy back in the day. This was before the internet and all that stuff. It was just a rumor in the neighborhood. It was a murder, and it still went unsolved, and it felt like the cops weren't about investigating it. Like I said, a lot of us have personal experiences, and that's what sums up in the Dave Chappelle, and that's what sums up what's going on now. Yeah.
So his comment about the law, he asked what happened to the black man who was killed next to his wife. His kid was in the back by the Asian cop who shot him. Like, he just unloaded a clip into him. He was like, I have a weapon. It's registered. Let me give you the paperwork. And he just unloaded on that man.
Yeah.
And he was like, where was the NRA? Where were we believe in the Second Amendment rights. The only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is with a good guy with a gun. Why didn't they speak out for this black man, if not the fact that he was black? Mm-hmm. If not the fact that he was black. And I was like, yeah. And then so he brought up the assault charge. He said the only time the NRA supported a ban on assault weapons was when the Black Panthers brought him to California state capital, right? Mm-hmm. So I looked that up, and like it was the Mulford Act of 1967 that the Black Panthers were using assault rifles to police their own neighborhood in Oakland, and therefore the government got upset, and they tried to pass the bill saying that you couldn't do that. They went to the state capitol to protest to say, why can't we do that? And then Governor Reagan signed the act in 1967 and made it a law. And he said this law will not hurt law-abiding citizens. Like, and I was like, but you're saying that he said guns are not the answer. That normal citizens should not have these types of weapons.
Really?
Yeah. What America is this? Because last time I checked,
what America he was living in,
I was like, what? Yeah. But but if it wasn't for Mr. Chappelle, like even bringing this up, like I wouldn't have been like, let me go look this thing up.
He has a genius. It's something about Dave Chappelle. Like, even though he's a comedian, he has a way. He reminds me, in a weird way, of Charlie Murphy. Like, just the way you could tell a story.
Storyteller, yeah.
And just tell a story, and then just to to get you engrossed into it, and you're like, oh my God, really? You know what I mean?
But the story is making the point. So I agree with you, and you know how normally we discuss things, and you'd be like, I'm making my point, and Dave doesn't say, here's my point. He just says, here's the story.
Mm-hmm. And he weaves it throughout. Like he just keeps on hitting back on the same points, but from a different angle. It builds and builds. I mean, just a masterful storyteller.
Let me ask you something. Last week, was it that during the protests that a whole bunch of people, I saw a clip, I think it was on Yahoo or somewhere, where during the protest, once again peaceful, some people felt the need to come out and protect their neighborhood and stand at stand guarding the street as these protesters are walking
Oh yeah.
with their assault rifles. And then the week before that, or weeks before that, people came out with their weapons to protest quarantine.
Yep.
Yep.
Did the NRA say anything?
No.
Nope.
Trump said they were good people.
Yes.
right. That's right.
He
So it's okay
encouraged
to
them to get back
protest.
out there.
Yeah, because protest, your governors to lift the quarantine, etc.
Get the economy back and running.
But we don't have a whole bunch of nonviolent protesters down the street with their assault rifles, protesting fair and equal treatment to people.
No, because depending what those people look like, those people get shot.
Yes,
Like,
it does seem like you're far more trusted with the weapon when you're fair.
It's
true.
I really liked that at the very, very end of the special, they put up about donating to the Equal Justice Initiative. Like, I'd be curious to know if they, I hope they get a big spike in donations. I mean, it's one of the best. Brian Stevenson is just an amazing like warrior for criminal justice reform, and I like that. I don't know if it's on HBO or Netflix, but whichever one is showing it for free, Just Mercy, the movie.
I think Netflix is.
I haven't seen the movie yet, but I've read his books, and what he does to free wrongfully, incarcerated people who are on death row, and he also was instrumental in the National Lynching Memorial. I mean, it's just I'd like to hope that this special from Dave Chappelle just sends a whole bunch of money and attention towards this organization in particular, which I think is doing really good stuff.
So the issue of voices and who should be heard, right? So you said the NFL was more looked at the political climate as opposed to they're worried about people burning down their stadiums. But then that goes to the issue of our voice is important. Like Dave Chappelle said, my voice is not important. Like, why do you need to hear from me? But when the voices of the people turn, you start to see Starbucks saying it's okay to wear Black Lives Matter stuff all of a sudden. Like you start seeing and celebrities who first were kneeling is offensive to be well, we understand now. Now the companies understand.
NASCAR, after how many decades, all of a sudden it's Confederate flags. I did not see that coming. I was like, good luck, Bubba. Whoa, that actually.
Well done, Bubba. Yeah.
I was like,
They've decided to enforce it.
Oh yeah, no, it's banned. It's banned now.
Yeah.
You can't bring no Confederate flags at all. And I think they even agreed to donate. They had this big special even before the races the other night, and they brought in an African American to do the national anthem and another African American to do the prayer and stuff. I'm like, wait, this ain't NASCAR. This NASCAR? This ain't. I had to make sure. I was like, yeah, it says what? I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, yeah. So that's how this is taking over the world. And then they show what's going on in Paris, and then they show them doing the haka over in New Zealand for Black Lives Matter. You're like, oh my God, this is serious. This is why you keep hearing everyone say, oh, I feel like this is going to be different. And I guess part of it is because, for one, you start seeing different shades out there. You don't just see just a bunch of dark hands going up. No, you see hell. When I went to DC, half of those signs was. And the fist was a lot of them was white. You know what I mean? And that's the huge sign. And then now you got all these other countries on board and actually having these big protests. It's something. They were saying that this is a lot of people said they haven't seen anything this big since they said ever since I guess after MLK was shot. You know what I mean?
68.
Yeah.
And it's nationwide and worldwide.
They tore down statues in England.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because apparently, same as here, and we could talk about the statue thing another time. But
that's a whole other video.
That's a whole But
let me know who's doing that video.
So they had statues to people there that have horrible histories when it comes to I get Black English people.
Mhm.
I didn't know. Like, so the amount of pain and the cry for fairness in Germany and France, and I didn't know about New Zealand. But and I imagine in Australia, because they're indigenous people of color, they got plenty to say. And so so for me, it does feel different, and forgive my skepticism, but I can't help but be the person who's like, okay, uh, let me see what this looks like in 6 months. Let me see what
Right.
this looks like in a year. Are you just
Yeah.
saying it because
Will it
it's
stick?
a thing
Like,
to say?
yeah.
It's so
Will it
fresh.
stick?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I understood. I do like that to see that there's some legislation that's already been passed through the Senate already, like everything
Yeah.
from the
Anti-lynching law.
the Breonna Taylor
Did it finally pass?
no
Because I
knock
know that what's his name was gonna vote against it.
Rand
Breonna
Paul.
Taylor?
McConnell.
Yeah.
Talking about Rand Paul, right?
Yeah.
Because I think he originally wasn't, and I think he voted for it.
Okay.
I think, yeah,
We
which
had
is weird for him.
um,
But
he nominated
again,
another legislation of some kind, and um,
oh, I'm sorry, the anti-lynching. Actually, I'm sorry, the anti-lynching thing. I think you're right. Yeah, he did go against it. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but but I understand. You know what? You're absolutely right. I am skeptical too. But what is crazy to me is, like, even in the background here, I had the TV on, and this is day 16 after George Floyd has died, and there's still people across the world still protesting in the midst of a pandemic.
In
You
the
know what I
midst
mean?
of a pandemic.
In the midst of all of this, you know what I mean? And you're absolutely right. Like, hope for the best, but expect the worst. You know what I mean? But it does feel different. It does feel different. And no, I don't think it's all going to be roses at the end. Like, oh yeah, in another year, everything's going to be solved. No.
it
Hell
could be.
Maybe.
It could be.
I mean,
reparations for everybody.
Well, that's a whole.
that's another big
That's a whole
conversation.
With inflation, they'd break the country.
Then we
That's
definitely
another.
the
Yeah.
country's
got to
nearly
back.
They were
broken
like, hey,
down.
look, we gave y'all $1,200. Now y'all want some more money.
Yeah, you remember?
Like 40 acres in Arizona away from people, because if we're gonna be, quarantining,
They're like, that reparations came out through that stimulus. Sorry. Bro, it's like, sorry.
$100. That just reminds me of the Chappelle Show episode about reparations.
That's what I'm saying. They played the mess out of that clip. They were like, "What are they doing with their checks?"
I think that made a lot of people afraid, though. I think a lot of people saw that Chappelle skit, and they were like, "Oh no, we can't do reparations.
Yep.
We can't do
We
that.
cannot do people bet on a dice
Right
game,
back.
have a dice game, and make KFC go almost, be the number one selling product." It's like, oh, no.
We got a lot more conversations to have. Sounds like.
Yeah, that's
Chappelle said that he didn't feel like his voice was needed, right? Because the streets are talking. So what do you think? Do you agree? Did you need to hear him?
I didn't.
But I think a lot of people did.
Yeah. I mean, well,
I think
don't know.
we're all
I'm
here having this conversation because he did.
Sure.
I am a little mixed. I'm a little mixed because I was impressed that it wasn't like a celebrity or someone like a Kim Kardashian tweeting, doing hashtag this, and all of a sudden like, oh, look what she said. Look what Kardashian said. No, it was literally just your average Joe just going out and doing the damn thing themselves. But then you also have to realize, like, it is kind of jarring where you kind of hear silence from certain people. You know what I mean? And I think some of that is fear. Like,
Who like to hear from?
Yeah, like some people fear because like they're celebrities, but then they're also hired by certain agencies and have sponsors, and they're probably be afraid like, oh man, like John, what's his last name? John Boyega from Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah, he even if you saw his rally during the rally over in the UK, he was basically talking about how he was talking about how we have to do better as a people, and he was in tears, literally. I mean, hell, watch the video if you really want to feel it. And the big thing I took from that was towards the end, he said, "Man, I don't even know if I'm still going to have a career after this."
Yeah.
because of the stuff he was talking about was so real that he thought, he's like, wow, like he thought he was going to be blackballed. And then it took, and that what happened there was actually, it was probably the best thing for him to say, because then you had other filmmakers actually retweeting and saying, hey man, we got you. Like, no, we're not going to let you be silenced. And then I guess it started with Peele, with Jordan Peele. And then someone, I guess another, it was a white filmmaker. He said, hey, us white filmmakers need to like be supportive. And then they said, you know, and literally it was like one after another, different filmmakers, you know, white filmmakers saying, dude, we're not going to let you be blackballed. You're good, man. We're staying with you. And that's when you start seeing more. I felt that you saw more celebrities really starting to kind of come out, and you know, but I don't know. It's
So it sounds like you disagree with Don Lemon.
I'm a little mixed. I don't know. I don't care either way. Same time though, I don't want a celebrity 8 months from now all of a sudden say, hey man, like starts getting on pedestals like, man, like they didn't listen to us with George Floyd, and I'm like, we ain't hear shit from you like a year ago. You know what I mean? So I just don't want you to be like, there's certain people that you know is going to speak out. Like LeBron James. I mean, oh my God, like he's the modern day Ali when it comes to an athlete of being an activist. You know what I mean? So you knew it was going to come from LeBron. You know what I mean? Certain folks, you know, like that. And there was a couple surprises, like, you know, for me, Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen was another one that kind of surprised me. And then his responses to everyone that kept coming onto his feet and say, no, man, not Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. And he told them where to stick it after they used those words. So it's, you know, I basically what I'm saying is I don't really care that much, in the sense of we did okay without all of them. And Dave Chappelle, I think, kind of nailed it, like saying, like, look, like, why am I going to jump? Why am I stepping in on all these kids' game? Look, they got it. What did they need me for? Like, what else am I going to add? They don't want to hear from no damn celebrity. I think that he actually said that. He's like, they don't want to hear from no damn Ja Rule. He said they don't want to hear from Ja Rule. And I wonder what Ja Rule's thinking. Like, I was like, no.
I don't know why he picked Ja Rule.
Oh,
It was
he's trying to pick the most random, yeah.
About Ja Rule, so he's like,
no, Fox News, after 9/11, Fox News asked Ja Rule to come on to talk about the 9/11 attacks.
Oh, did they?
Okay.
And they were like, why is anybody talking to Ja Rule? Like, so Dave Chappelle brought this up before, but yeah, they did that.
Okay.
Okay, now that makes more sense. Okay.
I guess to get the black
I just thought he was just throwing so much shade at Ja Rule, but like, no one cared. No one gives a damn about a Ja Rule. I thought I was just that.
That's 50 Cent. 50
Yeah.
Cent would be like,
I was like, damn, is he running for G Unit now? Okay, Dave. All right. I know about the Woo, but you know. I thought that was pretty funny too when he was saying, oh, Staten Island is the worst, you know. Unless you Wu-Tang.
He will keep Wu-Tang out there.
I thought that too when he started talking about. I was like, yo, what about Wu? And then sure enough, he said Wu-Tang. Yep. So
I think the difference between what Dave Chappelle did and what other celebrities are doing is that he added to the conversation. Again, like you said, this conversation got us looking at other cases. What happens when Black people respond? It's not just hey, another Instagram post, Black Lives Matter, you know, and I'm out. And I'm like, I don't need that. Like, I don't need you just to say what everybody else says. So 6 months from now, we don't look back on you and say, why did you say Black Lives Matter too? Like, he added to the conversation. He helped us think and look at it in a different way. And I'm saying, so if a celebrity can come out and do that and say, what does it mean to me? Where are we going? And add to the discussion, that does provide a platform to get other people who may not be interested in this topic to learn something, because it's that person talking. But just like every random post, again, retweeting Black Lives Matter, here's a black picture on my Instagram, which I didn't know what that even was. Like, I was looking at Instagram and I saw these black.
Broke. My phone broke. What's going on?
I was like, why is all these black things popping up? I didn't see it.
Blackout Tuesday, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, how the fuck is this stopping anyone from being killed from a chokehold? Like, let's remember what started this shit. Like, what irritates me is like this thing is growing to the point that we somehow have forgotten it's chokeholds. It's tasers.
It's
It's
disproportionate violent response
yes,
for a specific group of people.
or just chokeholds. Like chokeholds kill white people too. Like
Yes.
chokeholds kill people. Like why are we not focused on simply getting a law? Because Mitch McConnell I heard just blocked the bill that would stop chokeholds like at the federal level. Like he blocked that bill in the Senate.
Yeah, but at the same time, the president apparently is entertaining some sort of executive order stopping the use of chokeholds. Period. I don't know if that's some symbolism or what. So perhaps Mitch was blocking it so the president could have his moment. But I think we all agree most municipalities already don't even allow it. Um, Understanding that it's dangerous, it's been shown to cause harm.
But New York, but there's many states that do allow it. That's why he died, and it's still being used today. Like we can identify the acts that cause murder in the cops. Like let's do some focus on that to say we now got at least real chokeholds. But to start moving on to street signs and stuff like that, I'm like, this is not solving the problem of people dying on a regular basis. As
But it gets people talking because yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It's not. It is obviously not black people are just all the victims here. You know what I mean? But if it wasn't for something like this to happen, you wouldn't have people to realize, holy shit, there's a no knock rule. Like there's a no knock. Like interesting. Yeah. Like what the hell? Like I guarantee you, it was a bunch of white. If this happened to a bunch of white people, this legislation of getting this banned would not happen. This would not happen unless it happens to someone that's super rich. You know what I mean? That's the only exception. And I at least that's how I feel. And I think a lot of it too. I think what you're forgetting too, Dave, though, is how angry a particular group of people are. You know what I mean? And like I keep looking at that old Tupac clip from, was it 1994 with MTV, when he basically was saying, like, talking about how the older generations before him, why like certain things were said, and like even just saying the N-word and whatnot, and why his generation that was born into the 80s and 90s, how they're just the whole like I don't give a fuck thing. There's basically what he said. He said it's sort of like you're super hungry. You see all this food in this big old hotel, and you're just knocking on the door and say, hey, let us come in. We're hungry. And then a week later, y'all even more hungry. Say, come on, we're hungry. Please open up. It said eventually they're gonna be banging on the doors like, we are hungry. Let us in. Eventually they're just going to stop asking altogether. Once they get to a point where you put them to the most extreme, where they'll stop asking, they'll stop being polite, and they start picking a lot, and then they start to burn the shit down, which that's what you see now. So, and that's unfortunately, yes, I understand what you're saying, David, and I understand it's not just black people, but you got to understand, because it happens now to a black person for the world to see, and the reaction that cop had with just being so nonchalant with his hands in his pocket, which was so freaking evil. It's kind of hard for people to just be like, well, let's just only just focus on just that particular cop and not just be like, okay, we got to do something about reforming this whole deal right here. You know what I mean?
Well, that's my point, Chris. I'm not saying focus on cop. I'm not saying the outrage is not justified. I'm saying permanent change to the laws that allowed this to happen will save other people like him. That's what I'm saying. Use the anger to change the law, to change the system, not just change street signs. That's not going to fix shit. You know what I'm saying? In the long term, people are still going to be dying on these streets no matter what the name is. I'm saying we're going too far beyond the main issue, and we still haven't accomplished that one goal. Just that one goal of saying no more chokeholds. Like no matter what, that is illegal. Like you can't do that.
Well, I think let's be honest. Street sign was just to troll somebody in the White House. That's all that was.
Still use other ways. Like if they really don't want you here, they didn't got. I mean, choking is just one avenue of ways for them to get rid of you. So okay, ban chokeholds, and then they shoot you. Ban tasers, then they it's always something. And you're talking to a group of people who enforce the law, pass the laws, decide on who's guilty of the laws. And you're expecting these people who are systematically corrupt to say, okay, we're going to let this slide. And it doesn't really work like that.
That's too easy. That is way too easy a mindset to have.
It's nice. It's
They're
like a
all part of
band-aid.
the system,
Okay. It's
and
like when
therefore
all
it's
those school
hard.
shootings were happening, they were like, okay, ban guns. But that's not going to solve the issue.
Right. So the issue is to make change where we can affect change. And if it starts with this particular technique and others, not just the chokehold, there are others, right, are no longer allowed. If it starts with reforming police stations and police services countrywide, an investigation into training and techniques, you have to start somewhere. And ultimately, I'd like to see it go to people other than these professional politicians running for office. You want to change those laws? Put somebody in there who's not vested in the way things are right now.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's easy to say the system is corrupt and it's stacked against you, but it always was.
And you got to fix the system. That's all I'm saying. I just see like a lot of people like, again, like, so that they're like, okay, we're trying to see signs. We'll put out an Instagram picture. I'm like, that's not institutional change. Like it's like you gotta help. Like say you gotta help change the system. You gotta fix the system so it's no longer legal. And I didn't even know it was so hard to even prosecute a police officer for killing someone. Like I didn't know that was even a thing, right? So I'm like, to just fix that. So we have a mechanism to say what you did was legally wrong, and we have some legal recourse to that. But it's just gonna happen again because like eventually, like Chris said, eventually it's a flavor and it's gonna go away. Just like the Me Too thing was a thing, and everybody was worried about that, and then that went away. This will go away, just like it did in 1992 with Rodney King. I mean, just like did with Eric Garner. It will happen like that. And you know what I'm saying, so until we put laws in place to fix that, it's gonna happen again, and we'll be sitting right here looking at Dave Chappelle talk again.
So I will say to you, like I've said to others, say what you just said to the people who are your elected officials.
Yeah.
You got an email address? I know you know how to find it.
That's legal, man. We have legal issues about that.
Yeah, I mean, but I understand what you're saying about the hashtags and signs, but you gotta understand, like the whole point of people like buying like shirts that have like hashtags and whatnot is to keep the message alive. Yes, I understand that's not the same as legislation. Okay, we understand that, but it keeps you talking about it.
Yes.
That's for damn sure. Like when people were watching NASCAR the other day and they saw that big old car in Black Lives Matter, that became the discussion. No, that car was not going to all of a sudden go into Congress and be like, oh, because Bubba Wallace drove this car, we should now, no.
It's Black Lives Matter
conversation going.
Yeah.
Keep the conversation going. You know what I mean? So
yeah, he painted his whole car with Black Lives Matter. It was impressive. I was like, wow.
That dude is very brave.
It is.
He's on a very lonely island of
yes, he is.
You know, LeBron, like someone like LeBron has fair company in the NBA and right. Like, you know, as well as NFL players, they got plenty of folks that even some baseball players, but NASCAR,
no.
The only black person in NASCAR. Oh my God. Well, he's joined by the only black person in F1. So he's got one companion.
I didn't know Stephanie was such a big on F1 racing. I did not know that.
I meant the Lewis Hamilton, the like winningest. Well, he's not the winningest, but he is super awesome. F1 driver is a black man from the UK. So, wow. And so since I follow him on Instagram, he has company in his NASCAR companion counterpart apparently. So, yeah.
And surprisingly, even like you even hear some of the other white NASCAR racers even like putting a hashtag Black Lives Matter. Obviously, it was that one that just quit because he was upset about a flag, which is ironic because he's actually Over in your area there, Dave. He's over in Ellicott City.
But he was upset because no more Confederate flags.
Yeah. He's saying he says I don't like the direct. He said something like I don't like the direction that NASCAR is going to. Like I don't really. He basically said I don't really care about the Confederate flag, but I know a lot of people do. And I don't like that you could just tell someone to not bring the flag, and I find it disrespectful that NASCAR is allowing the kneeling of an American flag, and I find that really disrespectful. And
He left.
I think I'm gonna just quit. I think this is my time to retire.
All right. Thank you.
That he wasn't that good anyway, so
Nobody
cares.
I heard. Yeah, he got roasted. Apparently NASCAR, whoever ran NASCAR's Twitter, oh my God, had to be a millennial because they fried the hell out of him. They fried them. Oh, just read. I thought someone was trolling me as far as saying what NASCAR's response was. NASCAR's response was like, said something like, "Oh, sorry, we had to Google you just to see who you were." That was NASCAR's response to him quitting.
Who's quitting? Who are you? You were part of us anyway?
You were one of us? Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
So speaking of one of us,
Mr. Key.
so before we roll out of here,
one of us.
Candace, we gotta talk about Candace.
Candace.
Candace Owens, and are you familiar?
What I miss? I'm sorry. There's a lot of names.
You might know
Candace Owens.
You don't know Candace Owens?
I know who she is. I just don't follow her, so I don't know what she said.
So Candace Owens is an extremely popular Black conservative whose main storyline is educating, people on the true plight of Black folks and their problems. And currently,
and does not believe in racism.
Yes, racism does not exist, even though she used the NAACP.
She called in the NAACP when she felt that she was being racially profiled back in college, but now all of a sudden,
systematic racism
is now absolved. There's no racism.
So anyway, so for example, she currently right now her pitch is to remind people of George Floyd's criminal background and to ensure that people remember that he was on drugs when he was murdered. And it was, I see your face.
You didn't hear about this?
You amazed me, Stephanie.
So didn't she?
I killed myself from a lot of things because it's stressful. So I don't get all the little nitty gritty idiotic things that people say.
That was pretty idiotic.
But yes, that's pretty big up there. And I'm sorry, Dave. Just I gotta interrupt you, but you're not even finished. I'm sorry. I can't. So when they brought up a few days ago that Floyd and the officer, I don't remember his name, and I'm not gonna commit it to memory, had an encounter when they used to work together at a nightclub. I didn't like that. Because I thought that's irrelevant, right? It's a distraction. And if it were me and I was a lawyer and I was on the defense team, that's precisely the story that I'd want to float. This had nothing to do with his race. They had an issue before then, and these two men already had, bad blood. And the same thing about bringing up this man's lack of perfection. So if he was another President Obama unicorn who got snatched up out of his car and murdered, then it's a tragedy. But it's not a tragedy because the man wasn't perfect.
I'm not defending the woman. I'm just saying
I know. I wish you were here.
I agree. See, and the thing is, but they do this all the time. Like, if you remember, even with Trayvon Martin, they kept saying, like, oh, well, we found opposed to him, basically him smoking marijuana. And then when Mike Brown, they're saying at the time of him getting shot, he was listening to some obscene rap music. And I'm like, what does this have to do with anything?
And Sandra Bland failed to signal a lane change and ended up in jail. I'll never forget that. And failed to signal changing lanes. It's every excuse you can come up. And then she was belligerent with the officer. Yeah. So every excuse you can come up with.
So in this particular case, people, she was all over my Facebook feed because most Black people I got are showing how she's going on Fox News, other conservative, and helping them with the narrative that he wasn't a perfect person. Like, he shouldn't be a martyr. But the interesting thing one I saw was Glenn Beck. If you know Glenn Beck, like, he is a true far, like, right-wing conservative nut, right? Mm-hmm. And they were discussing this very issue. And even him was like, Candace, what are you saying? Like, they murdered this man. Like, he had to keep on reminding her that it doesn't matter what he did before that moment. This is murder. And she had her job. She was like, he wasn't a martyr. He was a drug dealer. Like, she just kept on. She was like, if she had a thing. And I was like, and I bring it up because Dave Chappelle brought her up. You know, of all the people, all the voices out there, Dave Chappelle was like, fuck that woman. And I'm like, so she's becoming a big deal in this discussion, you know, particularly because, like, white people are using her to be like, see,
this is my black friend here. I told you, even this is how you get validation for these people. They're like,
yes,
oh, it's validated because there's another black person who agrees with me, and she's going even hammered. Like, and then that's why people are even saying hashtag she should be running for president for 2024. And I'm like,
okay.
Yeah. And so I saw her. I first introduced her when she was on a Vice special on Black conservatives, and she was one of the many conservatives on that thing. And it was fascinating because they were talking about their whole story. And anyway, that's a whole video for another day. But along with her, I know of the Hodge twins, two black men, biracial. Chris knows them. And they started out with, like, gym stuff. They moved on to, like, relationship stuff. Like, they were very popular. And now, in the last few years, they've turned into, like, conservative, like, Trump supporters, right? Which is nothing wrong being a Trump supporter, for the record. And I'm saying, but I'm like, but even they were like, as long as they're like, I saw a video and I sent it to my friend because I thought it was important. She a black woman, she never knew that white people were also killed by the cops. Like, she never saw it before. They put a video together, you know, it's called White Lives Matter, to counter the narrative that only black people are killed by the cops. It documented 4 very egregious cases of white men being killed by the cops. I sent it to her, and I was like, but even at the end of that video, as much as they were like, Black Lives Matter, you know, is the liberal left trying to rile up black people, even at the end of that video, they were like, Floyd was murdered. Like that, of all the stuff we're about to say, George Floyd was murdered, right? And that's not right. Candace won't even do that. Like, she's like she is like, she won't even acknowledge that. And I'm like,
I think she got hurt. I think no, I'm dead serious, because if not Vice, but what's the other one? The one that Diddy owns or whatever. But anyway, she did a panel discussion with Killer Mike. It was with her, Killer Mike, T.I., and another conservative, Pearson. It was a conservative. So it was those two conservatives versus T.I. and Killer Mike. And everything Killer Mike was trying to tell, you could see that he was trying to educate her. He wasn't, because T.I. at times was basically putting her down. But Killer Mike was trying to educate her, and you could tell that there was some sort of, I felt like it sounded like she had some hatred in her heart for, I don't know, for other black people. And something tells me something happened to her in the last 10 years.
It didn't have to be a thing. Don't give her a pass like that. And
but she called the NAACP to help because of racism.
Right.
All of a sudden, like, something happened to her in college.
There are people out there,
and then now all of a sudden,
to be seen as the victim. They cannot possibly comprehend at all that the only reason that you are victimized is because of something you literally have no control over. I was born in this sleeve. They cannot, the denial, right? And then the fact that you encounter wrong, such egregiousness against someone who looks like you, they cannot do it. There's a level of self-hatred involved in the block that you sense when you saw her, because that cannot possibly be me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good point. Some point she
that
said
can't exist because of who I am. Like, I can't be limited in this world. I'm as entitled as anybody else born like me, middle class or upper middle class or whatever. There's a lot to unpack there. You can't. I encourage you not to just view it as something happened to her. Yeah, something happened to her, and it was so strong that she's like, I refuse to accept that this is real. That my
No. I personally feel like anytime you feel like that, I understand what you're saying. I feel like unfortunately there are mental illnesses with people, and I'm definitely not giving her a pass. What I'm trying to say is, normal people don't just turn into something like that unless something that they found in their head that happened to them that was so fucked up by possibly their own race that they said, oh, you know what? F all of these mother effers. I'm about to burn this whole race down by going on Fox. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by that. No, I ain't giving her no pass. I'm just saying that in order, because every time I hear her talk, because I know you don't listen too much to her, but what I'm saying is every time I hear her talk, it's a sound of hatred.
Yeah.
And I'm like, have you looked in the mirror? Have you seen what you are? You know what I mean? And it's just like,
but
that's
a whole other video. Like we can do a whole video on that because there's so many things I to unpack, like you said with her, and the issue of anyway, whole the video. So as it relates to Dave Chappelle.
Okay, sorry, we got off Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, I was like,
that was Dave Chappelle. I mean,
I know, right? But I was like, we can. Yeah. I want to bring up.
What's Laura Ingraham?
Laura Ingraham. Yeah. The last one we will review is Laura Ingraham somehow thinking LeBron James needs to shut up and dribble.
But Drew Brees is okay.
Yep. It's like, so what's the difference? She's more of a football fan than a basketball fan.
Could be.
It just proved the hypocrisy.
Well, didn't he say that when Colin Kaepernick? When other ball players started to take a knee? Who said that? Was it the president? Someone said they should be grateful for.
Oh, yeah.
No.
It was somebody on Fox News.
Right. They should be grateful for all the money they've taken, the opportunity to play, and there's always a way that people are gonna try to minimize you.
Right. Yeah.
And you try hardest with people who you're going against that have the most power.
Yeah. It's like we giving you all this, so you should always shut up.
Gave it to me, right? Yeah. I'm so grateful, Master.
It's like you're not out there picking cotton. You out in the house, so you need to be grateful, sir. No, I'm dead serious. No, I'm serious.
We're agreeing. We're all head nodding. Yes.
It's the real shit. Like, and that's why it offended me so much when she said that back then.
Yeah.
She said, "Shut up and dribble."
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm not even a LeBron fan personally, right? Like, I'm not a LeBron fan in any means. Like, you can talk shit about him. I'm like, yo, Kobe be making more, like, whatever. But when she said that about him, it was as if she told him to smile and tap dance and just be grateful.
That's exactly what she said.
That's what that was. And I was like, I can't believe she said that. And then when Drew Brees kind of, you can say how you felt about what Drew Brees said. Her response to that was, well, he's a person, right? He can have his own opinions.
Yeah.
Whoa, then what the hell was LeBron James then? What was he?
He's a figure
in my imagination. Santa Claus.
To tie it together, Candace Owens loves to go in on LeBron. I don't know, like maybe he did something to her in college. I don't know, but she like every time when they're like the black folks, she's like, LeBron James is. I'm like, why the fuck do you think LeBron
always
James?
Being personal with women, I promise.
No, it's not. You know what? No, I think that no, it's not just for her being a woman. I think every black person that thinks like that, whether you're, because even Sheriff Clark, who's a male.
Oh yeah.
Something's up with him too. I don't think it's just any black woman that thinks like that. I think any black person who is over the age of 30, right, to talk the way you do. Something happened. Unless you're like in that Dave Chappelle skit in that very first episode when you born blind and you become, part of the white supremacists and you had no idea whatnot, you know what I mean? Been adopted by, no, that's not what happened here. You were not blind. You had two parents that were both black.
Well,
what the fuck happened? What happened? No.
He divorced his wife. Remember that skit?
Who did? Oh, and you know what? I ain't gonna say why.
Don't
But
do it. Don't do it, bro. Don't say it. Don't say
no,
it.
but seriously, no, it has nothing to do with her being a black woman. It's the fact that here's the deal. Even if she was white, she would talk the way she talked. It is so. I don't know. It's I don't hear even white conservatives even talking the way she talked. Like you just said, Dave. Like Glenn Beck's not even talking reckless like this. I think she feels like because I'm black, I'm allowed to go there.
She can.
Yes.
They don't have to say it because she will.
That my plight in life is not what you see. You know, I'm not those people. That doesn't exist. I cannot be subject to a random stop and search just because of the color of my skin, because that doesn't exist. And if that doesn't exist, I can walk throughout this world without fear.
Until she get her nigga wake up call.
That's right. That's right.
It won't be real.
That's right.
She'll find some reason that she did something wrong when that happened, and she'll point to it and said, "Well, I shouldn't have."
That's my
She
fault.
cannot fathom a world where that at any moment, right? She can be taken down, literally to the ground in some cases, and just because she's brown, she can't walk around a world like that. The level of fear this woman has is immense.
Yeah, you gotta just look her up a little bit. It's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, and even her use of fact, like she's not making up the stats. Like she's not doing that. As I said, but how she shapes the data, right? Like, and I've seen many people. Again, that's a whole other video. So anyway, Dave Chappelle specifically. Any closing Dave Chappelle comments, Chris?
I felt like Dave Chappelle basically wanted to get this off his chest. I think that's what this was all really about. Really, you know. I mean, I think he probably wanted to say, if anything, I think Don Lemon is part of the reason why he even came out with this in a way, like saying like, why does everyone keep saying I need to talk about it? Fine, all right, I'll talk about it. You know, even though I didn't need to talk about it, and he just had to let certain things off his chest, and why he was so pissed off about not just this situation, but situations that happened in the past, and what has trying to have other people who don't understand what's going on right now and why it's happening. So like you said, Dave, just kind of using certain stories like what happened with Christopher with the whole you know, basically telling on his white partner and what steamrolled after that. You know what I mean? I felt like he really just had to just let it all out, and he did, you know. So,
Stacey, any closing remarks?
I'll be interested in seeing what happens next. Like, would he inspire others to speak out? Would people criticize him for speaking out? Would be interesting.
I think Laura Ingraham will.
But I'm sure it's already started. But just shut up and talk. You're a comedian, though, right?
You weren't funny in that special.
There you go. Yeah. Get back to the jokes, son.
Tap dance for me.
I'm very grateful for Dave Chappelle being in the moment so eloquent, and having a platform and using it, which he's always done. But he said things in a very thought-provoking way, that we're having this conversation. I'm also grateful for, this is what I was thinking at the time, his patience. He, as he said, you know, I didn't say anything till now because other people were talking. And I appreciate him pointing that out in the way that he did. I mean, it was, like I said, it was a very, it was, I don't know, a beautiful thing, but I enjoyed watching every moment of it. I enjoyed the storytelling, the weaving of things, and how thought-provoking he is. And I'm not a person who sits down and watches Dave Chappelle all the time. So for me, you know, I'm sorry.
I saw Dave's face too, like
he's like, oh. But I did watch more Dave Chappelle videos afterwards, if that makes you feel any better. But and laugh. And so I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and I'd like to hear more that he has to say in the way that he says it.
And it was a master's class. I think it's the right phrase they say that. Like, I had to study. I watched this thing for like an hour, and I had to research for another 2 hours just to fully appreciate the education he was giving us. And I'm smarter for it. To Stacey's point, I want to see Chris Rock do it. Like, I'm hurt that he hasn't got out there. Like, Chris Rock, his whole career.
Write his stuff because Dave beat him.
Right. This one, like, this will be a challenge. This will be a challenge for him to be like.
But Chris Rock doesn't do like a storytelling like this. Like, you know, like he makes jokes, but I'm trying to think of the last time Chris Rock has gone serious without making a really funny punchline. You see what I'm saying?
No, to your point. Yeah, this was not a comedy special. I mean, this was like a TED talk. Like Dave was like, I'm gonna sit you down and educate you for a while. Like, that's not the same thing. I'm saying, but even when his last few specials, he's gotten to that social level. He's gotten to that political level where like we're gonna laugh for a while. I'm educate you for a while. Then I'm gonna give you a joke to get up out of here. Like, this was just like education, true. But Chris Rock through his career has given you stuff that even today you can still watch and go, yes. That's what I'm saying. You can still, and I'm like, that's not Kevin Hart, and Kevin Hart knows that. He's like, that's not me. You know what I'm saying? Like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock are the ones in the comedic you're gonna look to be like, Eddie Murphy ain't that dude. Like, Eddie Murphy knows that. You know what I'm saying? So like, Chris Rock would be the second one. If not, I thought would be the first to be like, this is how I would see it in historical nature, and what does it mean to me? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that. They quoted Chris Rock just the other day when they were talking about the whole idea of cops when it comes to police officers. They were saying you have to always be great at your job. They quoted Chris Rock and said it's special, and they said, hey, you can't. They said there's some jobs you have to be perfect in.
Everybody has to be perfect.
You can't be a pilot. You can't be running the airline and say, hey, we got some good pilots and others that just like to fly into mountains.
We got some bad apples.
I was like, damn, and they were quoting him like much to your point, much years later. I'm like, damn, yo, Chris Rock still speaking bars like him and hell. And I always used to say Tupac, all the stuff that's coming out with all these Tupac interviews. I'm like, holy shit, like damn, like what, like were we not listening then?
Knowledge, man. You got, but like Stephanie's making that look because many times we've done videos. And I'll be like, wait. Chris Rock said, and I'll be like, the man said it. I'm going to acknowledge it.
Calls him Mr. Rock.
Mr. Rock. When you do that, you got to say Mr. Rock because it's disrespectful just to call him Chris. You got Mr. Rock said this. And I'm like, I give the respect for that. So, but yeah. Anyway. Thank you very much for you guys for your time. I hope you enjoyed the video. The comments that we provide does not represent anything as it comes to our businesses or who we are as an organization or professionals. These are our own personal comments in the event people watch our video. Just saying. All right, this is David Davis talking, and not my job. There you go. So I hope you guys appreciate the video. Hopefully we will do this again because it was fun to do it. And we will see you. Oh, please like the video, subscribe to the video, share the video, put in the comments what you thought about this thing, what else you want us to discuss. You can join us for a discussion. Stacey Land, for example, she's here because she became part of our Power family, and now she's part of the Iron Panther family. And we will all see each other again.